thought betrayal was something you only see in movies, until it came wearing a wedding ring. He said it was a business investment. I believed him. But when $52,000 vanished from our account and his ex opened a new boutique the next week, I realized my husband didn't just cheat with emotions, he cheated with my money. What happened next? Let's just say I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I documented. And when the time came, I made sure everyone saw the truth. His mother, his ex, his entire family. You're about to hear how I exposed everything and walked away richer than ever. Not in money, but in peace. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, what would you do if your partner betrayed you like this? Be honest. I read every comment. And if you believe in karma, in truth, and in women who rise from heartbreak, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is for you.
If you asked anyone back then, they'd tell you I was the luckiest woman alive. I had a husband who smiled in public, held my hand in church, and made everyone believe we were a love story written in gold. They never saw the cracks behind the shine. At dinner parties, he'd pour me wine, pull out my chair, and whisper little compliments for everyone to hear. But when the guests left, silence filled the room. Heavy, sharp, unspoken. He'd scroll endlessly on his phone, laughing softly at messages I was never meant to see. If I asked who it was, he'd smile that rehearsed smile and say, "Work, darling. You wouldn't understand." At first, I believed him. Love makes you blind, but respect should make you see. His mother didn't help. She worshipped him like he could do no wrong. Every time I made a mistake, she found a way to bring her up. Jane. Jane used to make his coffee just the way he liked it. Jane always kept things simple, dear. You should take notes. I'd smile politely, my throat tight. It was as if I was constantly being measured against a ghost, one I never invited into my marriage, but one that lived in every conversation. Still, I tried. I cooked his favorite meals, stayed up waiting for him on nights he was working late, and even apologized for arguments I didn't start. Because I thought that's what strong women did. They held the walls up even when the roof was caving in. But the truth? He had already started to leave me long before I realized it. The late-night business calls, the new cologne, the sudden urge to reconnect with old friends. Everything I ignored was a piece of a puzzle that would one day spell betrayal. I remember one night, his phone buzzed while he was in the shower. A message flashed on the screen. "Thank you again. I don't know what I'd do without you. Jay." My chest tightened. My hands shook. I didn't need to see the full name. I already knew. That night, I sat on the edge of our bed, the cold light from the phone still burning into my thoughts. I looked at the man I loved, the one sleeping soundly beside me, and for the first time, I realized something heartbreaking. I wasn't living with my husband anymore. I was living with a stranger who still wore his wedding ring out of habit. I should have left that night, but love makes fools of us all. So instead, I turned off the light and whispered to myself, "It's just a rough patch. It'll get better." If only I knew that was the night everything began to fall apart. It started with a number. $52,000. Gone. I remember the exact moment I saw it. I was sitting at the dining table, sipping cold coffee, scrolling through our joint account to pay the utility bill. The balance blinked back at me, almost half what it should have been. At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe an automatic payment gone wrong. But then I saw it. One large transfer, neatly labeled Business Expansion Fund. My husband didn't own a business. When he came home that evening, I waited until he dropped his briefcase by the door. My voice trembled, but I asked anyway. "Did you move money from our account?" He barely looked up. "It's for a deal I'm working on, short-term investment. You'll see it double soon." He said it so casually, like $52,000 was pocket change. But the way he avoided my eyes, that told me more than his words ever could. I pressed again. "What deal? With who?" He exhaled sharply, slammed his keys on the counter. "You wouldn't understand. Just trust me for once." Trust. That word used to sound like safety. Now it felt like a warning. The next morning, I found his mother already sitting in the living room, arms crossed, lips pursed, judgment written across her face. She must have heard about our argument. "You shouldn't question him like that, dear," she said with a patronizing smile. "A man's pride is a fragile thing." I kept quiet, but she wasn't done. "You know, Jane never argued about money. She supported him. That's why he thrived with her." That name again, Jane. It was like a ghost that haunted every word in that house. I wanted to scream, but instead, I smiled politely and went to the kitchen, my heart pounding so hard it drowned out her voice. That evening, while he showered, I opened his laptop. My hands were shaking, not because I wanted to snoop, but because I needed to know. Emails, bank statements, transactions that didn't make sense, fake invoices with names I'd never heard of. And then, a message. "Got the funds, you're amazing. I owe you everything. Jane." My breath caught. Jane, the ex, the woman his mother worshipped like a saint, the same woman I was constantly told to learn from, the woman who was supposed to be out of our lives. It wasn't a business deal. It was betrayal wrapped in a spreadsheet. I closed the laptop and stared at my reflection in the dark window. For a moment, I couldn't recognize myself. The woman who'd once believed love was enough. But beneath the heartbreak, something else began to rise. Not tears, not weakness, fire. I didn't confront him that night. Instead, I let him sleep beside me, breathing peacefully, unaware that his secret had been cracked open. He thought I'd never understand a man's world. He was about to find out how wrong he was. I still remember the night I found out about Jane's boutique. It was supposed to be a casual dinner with friends. Laughter, wine, the usual gossip about work and relationships. Then someone mentioned her name, almost absent-mindedly. "Did you see Jane's new shop downtown? It's stunning. Her boyfriend must really believe in her. The place looks expensive." The table buzzed with interest, but my world went silent. My fork froze halfway to my lips. Jane, my husband's ex, the woman his mother couldn't stop comparing me to, the woman I was told was long gone. I smiled faintly to hide my confusion. "Jane, as in Jane Moore?" "Yes, she's doing great now," my friend said, sipping her drink. "Opened a boutique on Main Street. And you won't believe this. She told me an investor helped her start it. A quiet partner, apparently." My heart skipped. A quiet partner. A secret investor. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my car for almost an hour. The city lights blurred through my tears as I scrolled through Jane's social media. There it was, the boutique's grand opening. The walls painted in blush pink, elegant gold shelves, delicate chandeliers. Everything looked expensive. And there, in one corner of a photo, I caught a glimpse of something familiar. A box. A custom decor piece I had ordered months ago for our office, the one that never arrived. My heart sank.
I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I pulled up our bank statements. Transfer after transfer, small amounts spread out over weeks. A name I didn't recognize. JM Enterprises. My fingers trembled as I typed it into the business registry. Owner? Jane Moore. I felt sick. He had stolen from me, from us. $52,000 gone. Not to a business deal, not to a family emergency, but to the woman his mother swore was better than me. Still, I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed proof, the kind that couldn't be twisted or denied. Over the next few weeks, I became someone else. Calm, quiet, calculating. I started recording our conversations, saving screenshots, noting every time he left the house under a new excuse. Late meeting, bank issues, supplier dinner. Every lie had the same rhythm. Practiced, smooth, confident. One evening, when he fell asleep, I unlocked his phone using the fingerprint he had once trusted me with. I scrolled through messages, and my stomach turned. Jane, I still can't believe you did this for me. He, you deserve it. Don't worry, she'll never know. Jane, are you sure? She seems smart. He, she trusts me. That's her weakness. I stared at those words until they blurred. She trusts me. That's her weakness. That night, I stopped being weak. I started tracking his steps, following bank notifications, tracing his lies through timestamps and receipts. I even found one photo, him and Jane at her boutique, cutting the ribbon together. He wasn't in the front, no. He stood at the edge of the frame, sunglasses on, like a shadow who didn't belong. Even Jane didn't know the truth, that her boutique was built with my savings, my sacrifice, my dreams. She believed he was helping her out of kindness, maybe even nostalgia. But kindness doesn't come from stolen trust. I saved everything, every screenshot, every transfer, every timestamp. And as I closed the laptop one night, I whispered to myself, not yet. You'll get your moment. Because I knew one thing. When I exposed him, I wouldn't just break his lies. I'd shatter the illusion he built in front of everyone.
I remember the day vividly. The air smelled like old perfume and disapproval. His mother had invited me over to talk. I went, thinking maybe, just maybe, she'd offer guidance or comfort. After all, she was family, and part of me still wanted her approval, even after all her little jabs and comparisons. She sat on the sofa in her pearls and floral dress, her posture so rigid it made the air around her feel colder. The tea she poured was lukewarm, just like her kindness. "You look tired," she said, glancing at my simple outfit. "Marriage taking its toll?" I smiled politely. "Just been busy." She sighed, setting her cup down. "You know, dear, you'll never be good enough for my son. Not like Jane. She was class, graceful, knew how to stand beside a man without trying to outshine him." Her words hit me like glass, sharp, familiar, and almost expected. I'd heard this before, just never so boldly. I stayed quiet for a second, letting her arrogance fill the room. Then something inside me snapped. Not in rage, but in clarity. I leaned forward slightly, my voice calm but firm. "Then maybe," I said softly, "you should ask Jane to fund all your lifestyle expenses." She blinked, confused. "What?" I smiled faintly. "Since you've been living on my money all this time." The porcelain cup in her hand trembled. Her voice cracked. What do you mean, your money?"
I watched her face lose color, watched pride drain into shock, and for the first time I realized something. She genuinely didn't know. The shopping sprees, the vacations, the business transfers. It wasn't her son's generosity that funded her comfort. It was my savings, the money he stole from me. She looked away, mumbling, "No, no, that can't be." But the truth was already sinking in, wrapping around her like cold water. I stood, calmly adjusting my coat. "Ask your son," I said quietly. "Ask him where the $52,000 came from." Her hand froze in midair. I could see it. The moment she began piecing it together, the boutique, the business deals, the lies. I didn't gloat. I didn't scream. I just turned toward the door, because for once, silence carried more power than words. As I walked out, I heard her whisper faintly behind me, almost to herself. "He wouldn't do that. Not to you." But he did. And now not just I knew, she did too. That was the day the cracks began forming, not just in my marriage, but in the image of the man his mother had worshipped all her life. And soon, everyone else would see what I had seen all along. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to be screamed. It just needs to be spoken once, in the right room, to the right person.
Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's as quiet as the clinking of cutlery in a well-decorated dining room. He called it a family reconciliation dinner. His tone over the phone was almost cheerful, as if betrayal could be erased by dessert and small talk. I said yes, but what he didn't know was that I was bringing proof. That evening, I walked in wearing calm like armor. My dress wasn't flashy, but it carried confidence, the kind that makes people sit up and take notice. He stood to greet me, smiling that fake, polished smile he'd perfected over the years. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing my cheek. "Let's start over." His mother sat at the head of the table, pretending everything was fine. And there, across from her, Jane. The woman my husband swore was just a memory. The same woman who unknowingly ran her boutique on my stolen savings. The air was thick, the kind of silence that only exists when everyone's pretending not to know the truth. Dinner began. Chatter, laughter, lies. He bragged about his business expansions, his investments, his brilliant plans. I smiled, nodding occasionally, because I already knew how this night would end. Halfway through the meal, I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. I thought tonight was about honesty, so let's all be transparent. I tapped the screen. His voice filled the room through the dining speaker. "Don't worry, Jane. I told her it was a business deal. She never checks details anyway. Once the money clears, you'll have your boutique. My wife will never find out." The sound of forks dropping echoed like thunder. Jane froze mid-breath, color draining from her face. His mother's hand flew to her chest. "You did what?" she gasped, her voice trembling. He shot up from his chair. "That's not what it sounds like." I stood calmly. "Oh, it's exactly what it sounds like." He reached for my phone, but I stepped back. "You wanted transparency, so I brought receipts." Jane pushed her chair away, her eyes wide in disbelief. "You used my name to steal from your own wife?" His mother looked at him, not as a son, but as a stranger. Every ounce of respect,
Every illusion she ever had about him shattered right there between the candles and the wine glasses. He started stammering excuses, blaming me, blaming pressure, blaming everything except himself. But I'd already stopped listening. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. And tonight, I owned every second of it. I looked at her mother, the same woman who told me I'd never be good enough. Her eyes were red, glassy, filled with shame she could no longer hide. I said softly, "You were right. I'm not Jane. I'm the woman who built, trusted, and got betrayed. But I'm also the one who walked away stronger." And with that, I placed the final receipt on the table. A bank statement showing the $52,000 refund after I reported everything to the authorities. No screaming, no chaos, just the silence of defeat. I turned toward the door, feeling their stares burn into my back. The weight that had lived in my chest for months finally lifted. Sometimes justice doesn't come in courtrooms. Sometimes it happens over dinner, with everyone watching you finally take your power back. Soft fade. The narrator's tone turns reflective and calm. He used my money to build lies, but I used his lies to build my freedom.
The moment the truth came out, the world stopped spinning. Just for a second. Then, like a storm that finally breaks, everything moved at once. Jane sat frozen, whispering, "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." His mother cried quietly, her hands trembling as she stared at the man she raised, realizing she never truly knew him either. And my husband, the man who once swore he'd protect me, dropped to his knees, begging, desperate, panicked. "Please, I can fix this. Don't do this to us." But there was no us anymore. There hadn't been for a long time. Outside, headlights cut across the driveway as two police cars pulled up. My lawyer stepped in, sharp, calm, efficient. "The reports are filed. The Financial Crimes Unit will handle it from here." I nodded once. No tears, no shouting, just quiet certainty. The kind you earn after you've survived being doubted, dismissed, and disrespected. As officers escorted him away, I watched his mother cover her face in shame. The same woman who once said I'd never be good enough for her son. Now she couldn't even look at me. I turned to Jane. She was still shaking, her voice small. "I thought he cared about me. I thought he was helping." I placed a hand on her shoulder, not out of pity, but closure. I said softly, "He used both of us, but at least now we both know the truth." The night air hit my face as I stepped outside, cold, clean, liberating. The house behind me glowed with chaos and regret, but I didn't look back. Some stories deserve to stay behind you. My phone buzzed. A notification flashed across the screen. Transfer complete. The bank had restored the stolen $52,000. The case was officially open. For the first time in months, I smiled. Not out of victory, but peace. I whispered, "He wanted to fund his past, but I'm investing in my future." I walked toward my car, heels clicking against the driveway, each step lighter than the last. Every mile away from that house felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I rolled down the window, letting the wind carry away every insult, every doubt, every moment I ever felt small. And then I said the words I'll never forget, the line that ended everything but started me. Sometimes losing $52,000 is how you finally learn your worth is priceless. The screen fades to black, soft piano music in the background,
And the final caption appears. Never underestimate a woman who rebuilds in silence.